Hi everyone, Salute here. In this video, I'm bringing you a quick guide on the Marauder Cluster arrow for Season 25. Now this build is an amazing greater farmer and it's also a lot of fun. And this is the build I'm using for farming in Season 25, where I'm currently the rank 1 Demon Hunter for Hardcore. So make sure to watch the entire video if you want to blast Paragon like I do. Now what you see on the screen here is me speed farming GR 120s. And at this point I have pretty decent gear, but I can definitely get better upgrades. Even on a freshly made character, this build can easily farm GR 100s. It's just that strong. And the scaling of this build is just insane. So where does the damage come from? So let's look at the 6-piece, shall we? So the 2-piece call all companions to your side. The 4-piece will make it so your sentries also cast your hatred spindles with you, in this case being Cluster Arrow. And they also cast it automatically. And the 6-piece is just a massive damage multiplier. If we have all 5 sentries down, we have a 60,000% multiplier, which is just massive. Now the playstyle is a lot of fun once you get into it. It can however take a little bit of practice in terms of your sentry placement. So basically keep your Vengeance and your Wolf Companion on cooldown, and then roll around with your Vault to find elites. Place your sentries on top of the elites or close by, and then start firing your Cluster Arrow. And you of course also want to use an evasive fire every 5 seconds or so to proc your focus restraint and your reps of clarity. But you can see how it works from the gameplay on the screen now. If you like this video, make sure to give it a like, as it helps the channel out so much. Now for the Season 25 theme, we have these new things called Soul Shards. And these are just massive damage increase, and it's also right we can now farm so high greater rifts. What you see on the screen here is the Dregs of Lies Soul Shard, which is our weapon Soul Shard. I'll show you 2 variations for this that works really well with this build. The one on top has a massive damage amplifier for pets, where it gives a stack that goes from 0 to 100 all the time, and it's just a massive multiplier. And the other one has it so when you kill an elite, it reduces the remaining cooldown of all your spells by 5 seconds. This is basically just really good for when you find an elite, you can quickly get all sentries down on top of the elite and then start blasting it, and then your sentry cooldowns will reset from that. So get one of these and then get either with attack speed or fire damage as one of the amplifiers. Now for the helmet soul shard, we are using the Sliver of Terror, and we are using the one with cooldown. So basically our cooldowns are increased by 25%, but for every skill on cooldown we take 12.5% reduced damage and we deal 12.5 increased damage. And we also get 5% attack speed at crit chance per spell on cooldown. And as you can see, we always have at least 2 spells and usually 3 spells on cooldown. So this is massive damage amplifiers. There's also a really cool Marauder variation of this build using multi-shot. If you want to see a build guide for that, it will be linked up in the corner now. For the weapon, we are using the Yanks Recurve. Now the really good thing about the Cluster variation is we don't care about the secondary on Yanks. And of course we just want as high damage as possible, and then maybe some attack speed or area damage. On our wings we want damage, crit, or even dexterity, crit early season. For the gloves we want dexterity, crit, and area damage. For the shoulders, get something like this, so you want some dexterity, you want area damage, you want resource cost reduction, and most importantly, sentry damage. For the helmet, dexterity, crit, and cluster area damage. For the chest, you want dexterity, vid, and sentry damage. Now we are also using Captain Crimson's set for our belt and our pants. This is just a massive increase to cooldown reduction, as well as damage and toughness. Now for your belt, get dexterity, vitality, always, and percent life. For the pants, get dexterity, vid, always. For your boots, get dexterity and cluster air damage and vitality. We're using squirts as our necklace, and you want fire damage, crit. We're using wraps of clarity for our bracer. Now for the quiver, we are using Bombardier's rucksack. Now this is a pretty difficult item to get, because you want a high secondary close to 200, but you also want a high sentry damage multiplier close to 100 within the item itself. And besides that, you want attack speed, crit chance, area damage. And for the gems, we're using Bane of the Trap, Enforcer, and Safe Stone. For the cube, we are of course using Manticore for reduced hatred cost of Cluster Arrow and increased damage. We're using Sori's Secret as our armor piece for toughness. And of course, Ring of Ralgander to allow us to use 5-piece Marauder and 2-piece Captain Crimson and still gain the full effect of both sets. For the spells, we're using Evasive Fire Focus. This is to generate a bit of hatred, but mostly to proc our focus restraint and reps of clarity. For our main spell, we're using Cluster Arrow with Loader for Bear. For our sentries, we're using Polar Station. This is so we can kite the enemies, since they would then slow them. We're also using Wolf Companion, but you get all the pets anyway. And we're using Vault Tumble to get around the map quicker. And then we're also using Vengeance Star card for a massive toughness increase. Passives, we're using Tactical Advantage to get around the map even quicker. Now I'm also playing with Awareness because I'm playing hardcore, but you could easily swap this to something like Ambush. Now the most important one is Custom Engineering. And then we're also using Call the Weak, which is just a flat 20% damage increase. Now I haven't set up my follower entirely, but just make sure you get a Flavor of Time and the Nemesis Bracers. And then I'm also playing with the cooldown rune. Now if you enjoyed this guide, make sure to check out one of the 2 videos shown on the screen now, as they are some of the best builds and guides for Season 25. I hope you enjoyed this video, leave a like if you do, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, folks.